Going Rogue Pilgrim. Yep, you don't have to stay on the trail. Stick around and let's talk about how to do that. It's going to be fun. Some of you might be thinking, Gigi, why would you want to go off the Camino trail? Well, there are many reasons, but in this video, I'm going to limit the response to just 4 reasons. They are, number 1, to go see an historical site that's not on the trail. Number 2, to visit a village that's not on the trail. Number 3, the trail's not passable due to flooding, fire, or construction. Number 4, to cut between 2 trails. Before we talk about going rogue pilgrim, we need to know some basic information about how the roads in Spain are categorized and labeled. The first type of roads are autopistas de peaje, also called just autopistas. These are toll roads. Big, busy highways. You may not walk on them. They are identified by signs with the letters AP followed by the road number. The sign has a blue background with white letters and numbers. The opposing direction is usually separated by a good-sized median and fence. It's very obvious that these roads are not for walking or even bicycling. On these roads, there are no intersections or direct access to towns or villages. So there's no reason for you to be on them. Next, there are the autovías roads. These are similar to the autopistas, but they're free. They're identified with a sign with a blue background and the white letter A followed by the road number. Like the AP roads, you also cannot walk on these. The next type is the carreteras nacionales, or simply nacionales. These are free to use. They're identified by a sign with a red background and white letters and numbers. The letter N indicates this type of road, followed by the road number. Opposing traffic is not separated by a median. Often there will be a path off to the side for foot or bike traffic with a guardrail or other type of barrier. These roads go through the towns and villages. The last type of roads are the carreteras autonómicas, which are basically country roads. They're identified with the letter of the region followed by the number of the road. For example, the letter M would be the area of Madrid. The letters CL for Castellón, AS, Asturias, LH, La Rioja, and well, you get the idea. These are the best roads to walk on. The color of the signs can be orange with black letters and numbers, brown with white letters, or yellow with black letters. So there's a lot of variance on these country road signs. Now that we know where we can and can't walk, let's talk about why we should walk on these roads rather than the traditional Camino route. Reason number 1, to go see an historical site that's not on the trail. If you're walking the Camino Norte, about 65 miles west of Gijón, you'll come to the village of Navia. About 5 miles south is one of the oldest Celtic village ruins in northern Spain. To see this amazing site on foot, you must go rogue pilgrim or off the Camino. But it's not difficult. You just use your phone GPS, follow the signs, and just common directional sense. If you want to stay the night, there are several B&Bs in the area, or you can just go back to Navia. But going rogue pilgrim is definitely worth the adventure. Reason number 2, to visit a village that is not on the Camino trail. I have a confession to make. I'm a wine geek. So is my husband, Mark. Living in Northern California with Napa Valley in our backyard, we often find ourselves spending an afternoon tasting wine and coming home with bottles of newly discovered vino. So when I was walking the Camino Portuguese coastal route, I knew that when I got just past Vigo, I had to make a detour off the Camino and go visit the village of Cambados. Located in the famous Rías Baixas wine region, Cambados is known as the Albarino wine capital. This is how I found my Rogue Pilgrim route. Here's a GPS map of the area. The Camino route at Os Castaños parallels the VG42, which we now know by the letters and numbers as well as color, is a country road in the Vigo area. As you cross over the Rio Umia, the VG42 goes left and the Camino goes right. By following the VG42 to the left, you leave the Camino and head in the direction of Cambados. It's only about 4 miles, but so worth it. If you choose to stay a night, there's a lot of hotels, albergues, refugios, etc. Even a very, very nice parador. To get back on the Camino, I headed north on a small road called Avenida de Villa Garcia, which put me back on the Camino about 2 miles after leaving Cambados. I'm counting down the days until I leave for my summer Caminos. So I thought I would do some multitasking and continuing the informational portion of these videos while I'm doing my training walks. So armed with my little dog Bella, there she is. And of course my backpack fully loaded. Here we go. Thanks for coming along. Reason number 3, the trail is not passable due to flooding, fire, or construction. A couple of years ago, I was walking the Camino Via de la Plata in September. Now, normally, this area would have just finished a very hot summer and everything would be dry, but starting to cool down. So it should have been good weather for walking that particular Camino. That year was not normal, not at all. They had been assaulted with rain beginning the last week of July and all of August. And the rain had not finished. Daily, I was having to wear my rain gear and rain cover for my pack. The locals kept saying how untypical this was and that the weather would turn to normal eventually. So what was happening is I'd be walking along a trail. And yeah, it was muddy, but it was passable. And I had my raincoat on and my poncho over my backpack. And I would come to a point in the trail that you couldn't go through it. It would just get too deep. In some places it got, 2, 3, 4 feet deep. I mean, it was a lot of water. So I had to go around it, obviously. I couldn't go through it. So what I did, I pulled out my phone, got my GPS happening, and checked out any alternative roads to get around it. Later in that same Camino, this was an odd year for obstructions on the Camino trail. Anyway, I was getting to Zamora, and I heard rumors about the Camino trail being either closed or diverted due to the construction of the new Ave line that was going through that area. It turned out to be not such a big deal. What happened was that people were aware that they were interrupting the pilgrims' Camino, and so they had taken great pains to make an alternative route. It was very well signposted and turned out to be not a problem at all. It was pretty nice. In fact, got to see some country that I would not have seen otherwise. Bottom line, your trail may be closed for any number of reasons. Always have a contingency plan for what are you going to do in case it is closed. Reason number 4, to cut between 2 trails. Last year, I wanted to do the Camino Inglés, but I couldn't decide if I wanted to begin in Ferrol or A Coruña. I mean, I wanted to do them both, so I did. My plan was to begin in Ferrol, walk down to the point where the two Caminos meet, then walk up to A Coruña. But that would mean I would be walking a portion of the A Coruña Camino twice, once in the reverse direction and then again in the proper direction. That evening, I was visiting with the person at the front desk in my hotel, and I was explaining my plan to him. He was an avid bicyclist and knew all of the roads in the area. He got out his phone, pulled up a map, and created a route for me that would take me on small roads around the bay, over the river, and up the coastline to A Coruña. What a lovely journey that was. They put an extra 20 or so kilometers onto the journey, but wow, that was fantastic. So, Going Rogue Pilgrim is okay. Actually, I highly recommend it. Keep your eye on the destination, Santiago de Compostela, but enjoy the journey. Each week, I bring you musical selections that have something to do with the topic discussed in the video. I couldn't come up with any Rogue Pilgrim songs, so I thought doing something representing the cathedral in Santiago would be appropriate. I reached out to my friend, a woman who, in my opinion, is the most knowledgeable person on the cathedral in Santiago, and I asked her, what is the top tune of the cathedral? Without a moment's hesitation, Anne Bourne said, Salve Regina. With a little research, I was able to obtain a photocopy of the original manuscript in the music notation of Gregorian chant. After transcribing it into modern notation, I added a modified harmony part, and thus the French horn duet performance of Salve Regina. Thank you, Anne.